Welcome back to the Whole Nine Yards here, Drew Pien and Brandon Kokorian on a Thursday afternoon. Brandon, how's it going?
Good. I've been up a pretty long time right now. We actually went golfing this morning, so
Oh,
I
okay.
woke up at like 6:30. But no, but good. It was a good day. It's one of the better days, honestly. It doesn't look that nice outside, but when you're outside, it's not as cold as it's been the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's definitely not 30 or anything crazy like that. I mean, that's
No.
not crazy, but it's just not that cold. It's pretty nice. How was
Yeah.
the golfing? Pretty good, or
It was all right. May have lost some money, but it's okay.
yeah? It's all about the fun or whatever, you know. It's
Yeah.
what the gym teachers would say back in like second grade.
Yeah.
If you didn't have fun, then I don't know.
I
But
don't know. It doesn't matter, I guess.
all right, well, one thing I do want to say is while you fix those headphones. One thing I do want to say is you thought I picked Minnesota last week.
Yeah.
I went and checked. I did pick San Francisco.
Okay.
If anybody is curious, you can go to, I believe it is 16 minutes and 21 seconds into last video. And I say that while I agree about some of the things you said, I am going with San Francisco. The main thing I did agree with you on was that was, to me, one of the first games that just had like a playoff was going to have a playoff atmosphere, and I feel like it did. I feel like that was a really good game, really competitive. Two teams that they know they're fighting with each other for a playoff spot. And when I said it was going to be like a playoff atmosphere game, and what do we see? We see Kirk Cousins line up under the right guard.
Yeah.
But whatever. So since last time we talked, I don't think anything crazy's happened unless I'm just forgetting about stuff. I mean, technically, the baseball lockout has officially started. If that means anything, I don't know that it does mean much, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, I mean it was expected, so it's not anything crazy. But yeah, I guess it's in effect now, and it's going to be in effect until March, most likely. I would say I don't think it's going to extend it to spring training or anything like that. This was like expected, so it's again nothing that caught them off guard or anything. So it should be something that like should get worked out in the next couple months. But it means no trades, no free agency, no nothing. So all the guys who haven't signed yet, which we talked about last episode, they none of those guys signed. I think Marcus Stroman was the only guy out of that group, the top free agents who signed. But no Correa. He didn't sign, obviously. Story didn't sign. There's a couple other guys as well. So yeah, no free agency, no trades, no really. There's gonna be no baseball talk until the lockout's over, which again is gonna be a couple months.
Yeah, if it's not till March, that's essentially what? That's December, January. I mean, that's 3 to 4 months of literally nothing happening. No
Yeah,
signings, really no rumors probably of much. We'll see, but yeah. NBA, I mean, there hasn't been too much, but I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess the Warriors have. We haven't really talked much NBA since the start of the regular season. We've talked a couple things, but we really haven't talked about just how teams have been doing. On, I think the last time we talked about it, we were like, I don't know, maybe 10 games into the season. Now we're about a quarter way through the season. We're about 20 games. And the two best teams in the league right now, it would appear, are the Suns and the Warriors. They did just play a couple days ago, and the Suns did win. Curry went like 4 for 20 from three and something crazy, not great from the field. Only scores 12 points, and the Suns ended up winning. I mean, what were your finals picks?
I was Lakers Bucks for mine.
If I gave you the chance to change those right now, would you or no?
Um, I don't think so. I'm for sure more confident in the Bucks pick because even though again the Nets still have the best record in the East, but watching them, they definitely don't look like a championship team. And the Bucks, again, they dealt with a lot of injuries early. They've looked a lot better recently as they got healthy, and the championship thing, that's also a thing as well. But I'm good with that. The Lakers one's definitely somewhat concerning, just because they haven't played great. But even still, I mean, they could still. I think they're like 2 games out of the 4 seed right now. So it's like the West is gonna. You'll never know what the standings in the West are going to be until it's over, because it's going to keep moving. Teams are going to be a game behind in the win column or tied, and it's going to go off tiebreakers for seeds. So that one I'm still I'm not as confident in, but at least there's still hope. Because again, it's only been 20. I think it's been 20 games, 25 games so far. So and again, they're not even fully healthy yet. The Lakers. I mean, LeBron has COVID, so they've dealt with a lot of stuff as well.
I think I would potentially change my Lakers pick. I'm fine with my Nets pick. There's not really too much of a reason for me to change it right now. Yeah, I don't know that they've looked like the best team in the league, but if I was going to change it, I really don't know who I would change it to. The Lakers, I think I would change it to the Warriors. I mean, I'm not going to go on the record and say I think the Warriors are going to go to the finals right now. I'm going to stick with my Lakers pick, and these picks are locked, and they're locked, but yeah, the Warriors have just looked really good to me. Jordan Poole's been really good. Curry's obviously been MVP. He's been the MVP so far, in my eyes at least. I think that's pretty much everybody's eyes. I would consider changing it to the Warriors, and yeah, if Curry does play like this in the playoffs, it's going to be a tough team. It's going to be a really hard team to stop. I mean, that goes without saying, but it's just if he wins MVP and plays like this, how would you rank the 2016 MVP, the 2015 MVP, and this MVP?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'd have to see what he finishes at, but considering the fact that, I mean, he's older, I would say the team in 16 was, we'll see what this team does, but I would say the team in 16 was better than this team.
For sure.
Yeah, so that also plays a factor as well. Again, no Clay. Like, obviously, he had Clay those 2 years. He doesn't even have him yet. And even when he comes back, we'll see how actually good he is. I mean, I'm sure he'll still be pretty good, but is he going to be who we saw in 2019, the last time we saw him? It's just impossible after an ACL and an Achilles. And again, I think he's 31. So he's not going to be the same player, but he's still going to be very good. But this, if he finishes with like 29, 30 points per game, which is what he's at right now, I think he's shooting. I think technically this is his best 3-point shooting season of his career. I don't know if it's actual percentage-wise or just in makes, but I know one of those is the best of his career so far. Yeah, you could probably compare it to 2016. I think 2016 is more impressive than 2015 for him. Obviously, he was unanimous in 2016. So yeah, I think it would be very comparable, especially if they end up with like they're not going to end up with like anywhere close to 70 wins. I think there'll be 60 wins though. Somewhere in the 60 wins. So I think that's just as impressive as it was in 2016.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's just as impressive as a regular season as 2016. Let's just assume Curry is somewhere around the range that he's in right now. If the season were to end today, I guess, and instead of 21 games they've played, we'll say they've played 82, and he's had these exact same, per game stats, I would probably go 2016 still won. I just think it's really hard to beat that season. I don't know. Maybe if it actually was 82 games through and he did have the stats he does have, maybe I would have to relook at that. But my gut instinct still tells me 2016 1. I would go 2021 2 and then 2015 3. But we'll see how he finishes out the year. I mean, there's still 60 games left. I would expect this team, if they finish under like 62 wins this year, I think that would be a disappointment considering where you're at right now. Had you been, if I told you before the year started you guys are going to win 62 games, you would take that. It's not, it wouldn't be crazy, but that's still a year you would take as a Warriors fan. So.
Yeah, I mean, just to get to 60 wins, to go 60 and 22 from the record right now, they'd have to go 42 and 17 or 42 and 19. I mean, they're clearly a better team than going 42 and 19 unless injuries happen, obviously. But yeah, they should for sure get over 60 wins. I mean, again, it's 42 and 19. That's basically, it's a good team in the NBA for sure if you were to put over a season. But again, when you're already 18 and 3, it's pretty easy to get to over 60 wins because again, they are a legit team for sure. So they should get to 60 wins for sure.
They should. Okay, so let me ask this too. If the Suns and Warriors were in a series right now, playoff series right now, who are you taking?
Right now, is Clay playing? I mean, I guess technically right now he's not playing, but
Yeah, we'll say he's not playing this series.
I think it's close because the Suns' defense is really good, and I mean Curry just had a bad night. I would say I think he was 4 for 21 in the Suns game, but clearly defense does do somewhat of an effect, in that stat. But I think I'd lean Suns in like 7, but it'd be very close because both teams are very good defensively. That's like two things about them. I think they're probably at least top 5 and most likely even top 3 defensively wise. So there's that aspect of it also. And then if there's no Clay, I think it's just tougher because in playoff situations, I think they just double Curry every single time. Like make Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins beat you, which I take my chances with that than Curry beating me. So I think the Suns would win, but I think it'd be very close.
I think I'd lean Warriors in 7. To me, when you have the best player in a series, it's just you typically win those series. Now, that's not always the case, but for some reason, I just don't trust the Suns as much as I trust really specifically Curry and the Warriors, even though in the playoffs, I don't think he's not been nearly as good of a playoff player as a regular season player, I don't think. And I am a Curry fan, so I would like to see him go off in the playoffs. Like, to me, honestly, let's just say the Celtics are completely eliminated from playoff contention because they're obviously going to be. If I was to root for a team, I'm probably rooting for the Warriors to win the finals, and I'm probably rooting for Steph to have, like, the best postseason of all time, so then I can say that he's the best point guard of all time. Even if he were to do that, I'm not sure if he would be the best point guard of all time. Listen, I'm not 50 years old, so I never did get to watch Magic and Bird, at least live. Anything more than like highlights from YouTube pretty much. So I wouldn't be able to tell you who's better, Steph or Magic, but I can already tell you right now that Steph's probably by far the best point guard I've ever seen. He's not a traditional point guard. It's almost apples to oranges comparing him to Chris Paul, but if you were to take one or the other for the rest of their career starting from their rookie year, to me there's no question I'm taking Curry. And at their peak I'm taking Curry. Over the course of a whole career I'm taking Curry. There's really not a scenario in which I'm taking Chris Paul unless I'm only getting that player for the first maybe 5 years of their career. Then maybe I'd take Chris Paul because Chris Paul is probably a better player the first 5 years of their career. But even then, it's like, I don't know. Curry was just injured a lot and really didn't have a great team. And Mark Jackson probably wasn't a very good coach. And he didn't have anything around him except for Monte Ellis, who shot way too much and stuff. So
Yeah, I feel like Chris Paul is like the last traditional point guard, and Steph was the first new age point guard. Like every single point guard is what Steph is now because of what he's done, and then Chris Paul was like the last of like what a Magic Johnson should be, a Stockton. Like you're gonna average like 15, 16 points, 17, 18, in that range, but you're gonna get 10 assists. You're gonna be good defensively. You're obviously a team guy. That's what Chris Paul is. I mean, I don't even know if he's ever averaged more than 20 points per game in his career, maybe once or twice, but obviously Steph, it's like automatic that he's going to average over 20, probably 25, 30. He's not going to be the best assist guy, he's not going to be the best defensive guy, but he's going to score the ball and he's going to handle the ball and do everything you need him to do offensively. So that's what every new point guard is, and I think anyone would pick Steph over Chris Paul. If you were just to pick either of the two, it'd be close, I would say, but you'd have to go Steph. He's just a better player. No matter what you think of Chris Paul.
Yeah, and I don't think either of us are Chris Paul fans.
Well,
that doesn't really help.
But there's a lot of NBA people who are Chris Paul people, and I'd be curious to see if they'd pick him or Steph.
I don't see
I don't see it either. I think we both agree on that. But I think some people would look at the analytics and, I don't know, they'd come up with some stat or some reason that Chris Paul should always be picked in front of Steph Curry. So I don't know.
I think the only reason you could argue is postseason play, potentially, even though we've never...
Even though Chris Paul's never been great, though.
I would agree. I think he's... Some people will say he's been great in the postseason. He just has been let down by, unfortunate circumstances. I would say... That's the worst take I've heard in a long time, even though it may not be, but it just really it just annoys me because, I think people will point to 2018 when he went out with the hamstring or whatever it was.
Yeah.
People will point to whether it's the Clippers being cursed or just the Clippers being dysfunctional or Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan really not being as good as maybe they looked because Chris Paul made them look better. People will look at that team and say, well, it wasn't really as good as people, maybe would have thought because Griffin really never showed really nothing great outside of LA, and really outside of having Chris Paul. He was pretty much just a really athletic player, and then later in his career, he is what he is. But yeah, I don't know. But I guess there's really just not too much going on in the NBA other than a couple teams doing pretty good. But
yeah, not much.
What do you think about Russell Westbrook's season so far?
I think he's been doing fine. I don't see a problem with the season. I mean, LeBron hasn't played. They've played 21 games. I think LeBron's missed 10 or 11 of those games. So it's hard to look at the team. And again, Anthony Davis, like watching him play, I think I may have said this before, but I always knew he was like kind of soft and never like he has the talent to easily be a top 5 player. And again, he maybe even is a top 5 player, but when you watch him in games, he doesn't dominate the ball. He doesn't want the ball. He tries to shoot too much. Like clearly he can just get any basket he wants when he posts up or is in the paint. He seems to shy away from contact. It's like you can clearly see it when you're watching those games. If he just played like Embiid or like Giannis, where they want the ball every single time and they're going to shoot or make a play, he'd easily be a top 5 player and maybe even top 3 because he's 6'11", can shoot a little bit, and he's so good defensively. But yeah, that was like a little quick Anthony Davis thing. But he's just not a top 5 player when he plays like this. He has to change his play style.
Yeah, I would agree. I think listen, it's very easy for somebody like me to call somebody like Anthony Davis soft.
Yeah.
And, I'm obviously much more soft than he is. I'm just, it's just the case. I'll admit it. But he's a soft, for NBA player standards and for top 10 player standards, he's very soft. Like he's almost as soft as like a cat, and I think that's really what holds those two players back. Is Cat should probably be still. Cat was at one point in the conversation for top center in the league.
He was voted by GMs as the player to build their franchise around.
Yeah.
So.
And now I don't think he'd really be in the top 15 or 20 of that list right
Probably
now.
Not, to be honest.
And listen, is it because the Timberwolves are a horrible franchise and have really never done anything good in the NBA? Maybe. But we've seen Hall of Fame players overcome, maybe not to winning a championship level, but accomplishing great things. Like we saw KG win an MVP in Minnesota. You would have assumed by now that Cat would at least be in an MVP conversation in a single year. He hasn't been. And AD, he's not. I don't think he's as like soft as Cat necessarily, but he's just. That's his weakness to me. That's really his weakness. Other than maybe he could improve as a shooter. It just comes down to, I think sometimes he's a bit kind of just nonchalant and soft sometimes.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I think he can fix it. Like I think it's 100% fixable, and I think he knows he can fix it and improve. But it just comes down to Willie. One more question, then I think we'll move to NFL. If you were the Lakers, would you? And we could travel back in time and not have done that Russell Westbrook trade. Would you have not done that Russell Westbrook trade?
No, because I think if you have Buddy Hield on this team right now, with the games that LeBron's missed, I think their record is worse, and I don't know how much more improvement there would be when LeBron and everyone's fully healthy and you think your team is like in playoff mode. I just think that at least having Westbrook gives you a third guy, gives you someone who's going to play every single game. I mean, he plays every single game no matter what if you look at his seasons. So that's durability right there. But again, it's someone who is going to at least want to score the ball. It's not someone who you can get him open shots and he can maybe create his own shot, but it's a you don't know. Some nights he could have like 3 points. Like Buddy Hield, there's some nights where he just doesn't really want to shoot or he doesn't want to score. Well, you always know Westbrook's going to do that, especially playing with a guy like AD where we just talked about. There's some nights where he's just not that aggressive and he may take 12 shots. So you need to know that as well. So I think they would do it. Again, they go back to like the Schroeder thing. Like, would they rather have him or Schroeder? I think I'd rather have Westbrook than Schroeder. I don't think Schroeder gives you anything, and I think they saw that last year. That's why they didn't want to bring him back last year. So I think it was out of the people available and for the situation you're currently in where LeBron has, 2 years max left of being at this level, maybe even 1, who knows. You needed to do something to give you another shot at a real championship, and I think that was the right move to do.
So you would not consider maybe just instead of trading for Buddy Hield instead, just keeping Harrell,
Yeah.
Pope, Kuzma, and then you can maybe you bring back Schroeder, maybe you don't. If it depends on what you would want to do, but.
I mean, it seemed like they wanted to trade them, to be honest. At least Kuzma. Harrell, I don't think was ever a fit there. He wasn't even really playing that much last year. I think it was just the fit-wise. But I think Pope was probably a mistake, and Caruso was a mistake in them letting them go. Because if they still had those two guys with this team, it's a much better team because those are two guys who are defensive guys. They could shoot threes. They could ball handle as well. So that's probably a mistake putting Pope in the trade or just not re-signing Caruso. So that was probably the big mistake that they made, but I think they would make the trade, to be honest. Because again, if you had that same team from last year and LeBron wasn't playing, what's their record? So
yeah, it'd probably be the same as what they were last year, 7 seed, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So and again, I think really the bigger question though is when LeBron retires, or if he goes to whatever team whatever he does, when he leaves the Lakers. Are you confident that AD could be the centerpiece of the Lakers for the future? Or because he's clearly going to be that guy, but as we saw in New Orleans, different market obviously, but if you don't have a second star or someone who's actually probably better than him, then you're really not going anywhere, even if you're the Lakers.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really tricky question just because if no LeBron in the league and that by the time LeBron's retired, KD's probably not a top 5 player.
Probably. I would say 2 years, 3 years, somewhere around that.
I mean, maybe KD is still a top 5 player if it's 2 years, but my gut tells me LeBron plays for more than 2 years.
Well, I think being at this level, I would say.
Okay.
Like, LeBron still would probably be in the league, but he would never, who knows? He's already done it for 18 years, but I don't think he's ever going to sustain being at this level. It's just almost impossible.
Yeah, my gut instinct tells me no, that he won't be able to be a centerpiece of a team. Now, I think he probably has to be what he was in the Lakers championship year, which is like a 1B, I think. He's never going to be able to be a 2 because he's just such a talented player. I don't know that you could ever consider him a 2 like you were able to consider Kyrie a 2. I don't know, because even in that Lakers championship year, LeBron was the better player, but AD had pretty much just as much talent. He just wasn't like 2016 where Kyrie was clearly the Robin. I wouldn't say AD was the Robin. He was just it was like 2 Batmans or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
2 Batmans, but neither of them were. I mean, I guess they had good chemistry or whatever. But yeah, I would say I would not trust him. I would trust him to be a 1B. I would not trust him to be anything more than that. Because you're still going to have to compete against Giannis. You're still going to have to compete against maybe Curry. I don't know. Luka, Tatum, a bunch of guys that I don't know that I would throw Tatum in that for a guy that would be like a championship guy. He's probably more of a 1B as well. But I would say 1B. Would you agree with that or?
Yeah, no, because I think it's a question that they're obviously just haven't had to address yet, but they're going to at some point. Again, the next 1, 2, 3 years, it's going to come up. And I just wonder what they're going to do because I don't think unless they get another star or someone that to come, play, then I just don't think they're going to be able to compete for a championship. Because even if you build the correct team around him, I don't think you can get close to a championship in my opinion. Maybe you can get to a third round, but even then, I just think he would have to he'd have to improve in his aggressiveness and wanting to be the guy at that point. And it's just there's no tells right now that would tell you that he would do that. So unless it changes or they get another star, then it's different. But if it stays the same and it's just no LeBron and it's only AD, I don't see where they go for the future.
Yeah, I would agree. But with that, I think we'll just go to the NFL. Not too much has happened since we last talked, so we'll just get into predictions unless you have anything you want to bring up.
Well, just one quick thing, not NFL, but college football. The contract came out for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly. And what do you think it was per year? Just off the top of that.
I'm going to say $13 million a year.
$10 million a year. But it's more than Nick Saban makes. $100 million for 10 years. Obviously, that's $10 million per, and then he has a lot of other stuff, bonuses and stuff. But yeah, so I mean, I just wonder. 100. I guess every new coach gets the most, but yeah, I mean, $100 million for 10 years. That's crazy, especially when Saban's only getting 9.7. I would assume he's going to get a raise. Maybe not this year though. They may not even make the college playoffs. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be that's an interesting topic to discuss about is if Alabama loses.
They're not making it if they lose, unless every other team loses.
Yeah, I mean they're not, but listen, even if Alabama loses to Georgia, there's just you're not convincing me that they're not a top 4 team in college football. I'm not saying that they deserve it or anything, but if let's just say Cincinnati makes it undefeated and Alabama loses to Georgia and is, the 6th or 5th team ranked, aka they're not making the playoff, you're not telling me that Cincinnati is better than Alabama. I just don't care what you say. Even if, let's say Alabama loses to Georgia by 20 points, I would still think Alabama's way better than Cincinnati because I'm just going to assume that when Georgia plays Cincinnati in the playoff, that Georgia will probably win by more than 20. So, and I don't think Alabama's going to lose by 20 to Georgia. I think it'll be a decent game. So, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. On the Brian Kelly thing, yeah, I think I think that's what it takes to rip a coach like that away from a college or institution like that. It's Notre Dame. It's a very prestigious job, obviously, and to go from a job that's probably a top 10 job in college football to go to another job that's it's definitely not objectively better than Notre Dame. I don't think. I think the standards are higher there. As in, you have to win championships. If going 11-1 and losing and making the playoff every few years and losing in the first round of the playoff every few years, that's just not going to cut it. In LSU and Notre Dame, I think that did cut it. It clearly did. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. The standard of winning goes up. I think there's more pressure. I probably isn't, maybe as, I don't know if fun's the right word, but yeah, I think those are pretty equal jobs, and I think that's what it took to get Brian Kelly. Had it been anything less than that, I think he probably says no. I think it makes sense he gets more than Saban. I think Saban's Saban's underpaid. If Pete Carroll earns 13 or 14 million, Saban should probably earn 13 or 14 million. I know it's not the same. I know it's college football versus the NFL, but I think it makes sense that Kelly's getting 10. It'd be interesting to see what Lincoln Riley's getting at USC.
Yeah, could see if that contract details came out or not,
but yeah. Marcus Freeman's now the coach at Notre Dame, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
I want to say that's pretty sure that's his first head coaching job.
I think so as well.
That's a tough first head coaching job. I know I just talked about how LSU has higher expectations than Notre Dame, but Notre Dame still has extremely high expectations, and they really aren't going to have much leeway on giving Marcus Freeman more than probably 1 year to kind of get, adjusted to the head coaching life, which is tough because typically speaking, we see head coaches start off as a coordinator at, not the best school, but still a decent school or whatever, and then kind of work up the ranks. This is Freeman's first head coaching job, which to me is just insane. To start off in Notre Dame, you arguably can't get much better than that. When it's a job that Urban Meyer was rumored to leave Jacksonville for, I think that goes to show that realistically you can't have an objectively better head coaching job. So we'll see how he does. I think he'll do fine. I think Notre Dame's going to be fine. If their schedule doesn't really increase in difficulty, aka they maybe have 1 or 2 real opponents a year, I think you're fine. That gives you a year or two to kind of get yourself acclimated to the head coaching lifestyle of a top school like Notre Dame, because realistically, you don't have to coach to win 10 games a year if they're all, schools that I literally can't even name right now. Yeah. And essentially you're playing maybe a team like Cincinnati once a year, and your biggest win is probably 8-4 Purdue, I think. off the top of my head. So, yeah, I think he'll be fine. But do I think that I don't know. Do I think this makes them any worse or better? I'm not sure. I think my gut tells me they're still going to be the same team with Marcus Freeman that they were with Brian Kelly, which is a really good team, going to be ranked really high consistently. But if they make the playoff in a year, they probably lose like 40 to 20 to Georgia or Alabama or Clemson or OSU or something like that.
Yeah, and also, at Notre Dame, you can't recruit without academics also playing a factor. So, like, if they didn't pass the academic part of Notre Dame, then they couldn't play football for you. So, I think that's also another reason why Kelly left is that LSU, I mean, they don't care. They'll take anyone as long as you can play football. So, I think that was also a reason why. And, yeah, Notre Dame, yeah, I think Marcus Freeman is 35 or 36 years old. So he's obviously really young to get a head coaching job. But, yeah, I mean, to go from – I think he started at Cincinnati, and then he went to Notre Dame as a defensive coordinator the last couple of years. So, I think people wanted him to get the job. And, yeah, he's probably going to go 10-1, 11-1, and they may make a playoff. They may not make a playoff. If it expands, maybe they'll most likely make one if they don't have 2 losses. But – yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to be the same boat, and then LSU, we'll see. Obviously, the last 2 years weren't good, but I would assume LSU is going to get somewhat back on track these next couple of years. Maybe not to what they were 2019. That's arguably one of the greatest seasons in college football history was 2019 for them, but back to what they were even like 2011 or 2012, whatever year they made the bowl that year, but got killed by Alabama. Like one of those teams.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, but that was also Lincoln Riley. Nothing's come out yet, but they said 110 million. But I don't know the years. So.
Probably over 10, I would assume.
Yeah,
maybe.
Assuming it's 10, 11-year contract. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll just get into NFL. I'm about to sneeze, so I will let you go first.
Bless you.
Thanks.
All right. First game. For me, Cardinals at Bears. The line is 7.5 in favor of Arizona. Now, I haven't seen anything about Kyler playing or not playing, but I can only assume he's going to play this game. That's why I took it. He's missed the last, 3 games or whatever it is, and then they had a bye week as well. So, again, I can only assume he's going to play this game. Even still, it's the Bears. They should probably still win no matter what, but 7.5. Murray returns. Again, I would assume Hopkins returns also. Even though the Bears got somewhat of a mini bye, just playing on Thanksgiving, they barely beat the Lions. I don't think Fields is going to play this game. I think it's going to be Dalton again. But again, the locker room, there's been issues with the locker room and not wanting to play for Nagy. Going against arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. If they get down early, I feel like it may lead to them not trying, to be honest. So as long as the Cardinals get out to an early advantage, I see them winning comfortably. As long as Murray is in there. If it's Colt McCoy, maybe it's a little dicey, but as long as Murray's in there, it should be fun.
Yeah, if I was going to pick that game, I would probably go Arizona as well. My first game, Cowboys at Saints. Interesting that you're not going with Dallas or Kansas City.
Yeah.
You're not picking Dallas or Kansas City here. And I'm taking Dallas. They are 5-point favorites on the road. I think Dallas is under a little bit of pressure tonight. They just haven't looked good. I think they've lost 3 or 4, right? Yeah, I think you know that. I expect them to get back on track. I hope Zeke looks like Zeke. I think Dak should play really well. I just don't really love this Saints team. Thursday night games, typically the home team is, has a better chance in those games than maybe your average home team. But to me, the Saints are really shaky, and on a Thursday, I think that could end up looking like the Falcons on a Thursday, which is, the Falcons didn't have Calvin Ridley, they didn't have Cordero Patterson on Thursday night against the Patriots. The Saints, they don't have any necessarily big injuries, but to me, they're going to be shaky with having no quarterback. I'll take Dallas to win by more than 5.
Well, they don't have Kamara.
Yeah,
they don't have Armstead and Ramczyk. They're 2 tackles. So they're actually missing a decent amount. But I don't know if the line's actually changed or not, but it may oh no. You actually had it 5. I see it at 6.5, but it's the same thing anyways. Oh wait. Yeah, you were taking Dallas. Yeah, I could have touched it, and I probably would have, but I don't want to like jinx anything or do something that could mess up anything. I just need a win tonight, so I don't want to like worry about what the score is going to be. I'd rather not worry about that. So, just win the game. That's really all I care about. But yeah, if I were taking this game, I'd obviously take Dallas. It's such an easy pick, and again, they're going to Taysom Hill, the Saints, which again I've been saying that for weeks. I don't know why they haven't done that. But now you don't have Kamara, your two tackles, so I can only assume that DeMarcus Lawrence returns tonight as well. I can only assume him and Micah probably get a couple sacks each. So we'll see. But again, that was a good pick. I think that's going to hit. But for my next game, Chargers at Bengals, +3 for the Chargers, and that's what I'm taking. This is a game, I feel like it's two similar teams, to be honest. I kind of view them as similar teams. And the Bengals have been playing good recently. They had a big win last week against the Steelers, a blowout. The Chargers obviously had that tough loss in Denver. I think if they're going to prove to be a legit playoff team and actually get into that wild card spot, maybe division still, but most likely wild card, you got to win this game. You may even face this team in the playoffs, or it may just be a wild card team that you may have to fight for that 7th seed potentially. So it's a big win for that, for tiebreakers, and it's also just a prove-it win for you as a team coming off a terrible loss, still being on the road. This is a game you just got to win. Again, +3, they technically don't have to win, but I do think they will win this game against the Bengals. I think it will be close, but I think they do win.
If I were going to bet this game, I would go Bengals. I do agree, though. I think these are two very similar teams. Burrow and Herbert going at it. Two pretty young coaches. Shaky franchises. Neither of them I would particularly trust in the playoffs. Very inconsistent. Both of these teams could easily lose to like the Jets on a Sunday, and I wouldn't be too surprised. The Bengals obviously did do that.
Yeah, one of them already did.
So, yeah, to me it's just too scary for me to want to touch that one. But I think if I were gonna go, I think I'd go Bengals. I like them more. I like Burrow's intangibles more than I like Herbert's intangibles. I think that's the scariest thing about Herbert, and we haven't really talked about this, but this is a fairly common thing. It's like if you're to take a quarterback to build around, aka like we were talking about Cat, like if you're building around a player, except in the NFL, there's a lot of people, maybe even the majority of people, taking Herbert as their number 1, and then Mahomes at like 2, or maybe Mahomes at 3 or something. To me, that is ludicrous. I like Herbert, but I need to see more than just flashes of talent from Herbert for me to pick him above Mahomes, even though Mahomes is at this point 4 years into his career, and this is only his second, so technically you may have more of Herbert than you would Mahomes. But to me, Herbert's still listen, is he going to be great? Yes. But is he going to be all-time great? I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I really don't. There's a chance that he's just a guy with a bunch of talent, but if I don't see the intangibles yet, where I already do see that from Mahomes. I already see it from Burrow. I'm not telling you I would take Burrow over Herbert if you were to tell me to take one of them for the rest of their careers. I don't know who I would take. I think I lean Herbert, but that's only because I've seen injury concerns from Burrow. He's not as physically dominant, so there's kind of a scare there that he just may not be physically good enough to compete with a guy like Herbert. But I value intangibles, and sometimes that's a thing you can't teach, especially with quarterbacks. We've just seen it. So I do think Herbert may be a little bit overrated, but
yeah, I mean the Herbert over Mahomes thing is ridiculous, obviously, and I'm a Herbert guy, but that's ridiculous. But between Burrow and Herbert, I'd probably go Herbert as well. But I think it's close. I think they're just very similar quarterbacks. I think again, they were the same draft, obviously, but as their careers go on, I think they're just going to be compared to each other because I think they're very similar. Now, I think Burrow has a little bit more athleticism. Now, Herbert showed it recently with his rushing yards, but I think Burrow's a little bit more – he can at least escape the pocket, while Herbert seems like more of just a straight pocket passer. He's just going to dice you down the field, while Burrow can do a little bit more. But I think Herbert, as he matures and just gets to know stuff, I think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. While Burrow, I think will be there, but I don't know if he'll be like consistent top 5 quarterback. I think he'll be around 7, 8, around that range, where he's still really good, but maybe not as good as Herbert.
I'm changing my. I'm going Burrow. I think I was just
Okay.
scared to have a bad take. I'm gonna go Burrow. If I was to have one for the rest of their careers, starting right now. The injury concern I think is a little bit scary with Burrow. I don't think he's as guaranteed to be injury free the rest of their careers. Herbert's just a bigger guy, and sometimes that can lead to injuries. The taller you are, the harder you fall, or whatever. Bigger you are, the harder you fall. We've kind of seen that with Big Ben, but we've also seen Big Ben play through so many injuries because of his stature. So I think I go Burrow there. I do. I just value the intangibles, and there's no doubt about it. Herbert is a better passer. He's gonna fit balls into tighter windows, but I'm gonna go with Burrow. Kind of off topic, but my second game is Vikings at Lions. Um, Last week I did not take the Vikings. This week I'm going to take the Vikings. It's a 1:00 game. The Vikings are favored by 7 on the road. Listen, the Detroit Lions, even though they're 0-10-1, they're still a competitive team. They still will compete here and there, but I think the Vikings need this win. Listen, they're coming off a loss. That was a huge loss. It is one you really didn't want to take. And if you lose this one, I think you're listen. The 7 seed isn't completely gone, but you're getting to the territory where like it's very much in jeopardy, and you have to go on a big streak in order to keep your hopes alive at the 7 seed. So I'm gonna take Minnesota to win this one. I'm gonna take them to win big. It's a 1:00 game. Kirk Cousins, you know how he does in 1:00 games. He's had a pretty good season thus far, statistically as well. So I'm gonna go Minnesota to win this one by 20 points.
Yeah, I wanted to I wanted to take this game, and I would have taken Minnesota, but I couldn't convince myself that this game was going to be a blowout, because I think it's going to be, and I'll probably look back on Sunday at 4 o'clock when the game's over and be like, I should have taken that game, because it's most likely going to be a blowout. But at the same time, I can see this game being a close game for some reason. I could just see the Lions fighting or the Vikings just making mistakes, whether it's Kirk Cousins or whatever, and I could see that happening. They may even still win the game, but obviously -7. So I couldn't convince myself to take it, but I do feel like I'll look back on Sunday and it's going to be a 25-point game.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But you could also, the llast time they played, maybe 6 weeks ago ish.
Yeah.
The Lions probably should have won that game, and it took another one of those Lions choke plus Vikings hit a game-winning field goal for the Vikings to win. So, I think the Lions could make a competitive game. It's a division game, which are always more just competitive, and the worst team can easily beat the better team in division matchups, just because when you play each other twice a year, every year, those matchups they're just it's almost a different game compared to a cross-conference game like a Chiefs-Bucks in the regular season or whatever, or anything like that. It just, when you play each other twice a year versus once every 4 years, it's just a very different game. So I could see it, but I can't. It's just Minnesota in the 1:00. They really need this win. If they lose this game, I'd probably get to the point where I'm debating taking them out of my playoff situation. So yeah, I'm gonna go Minnesota to win.
Yeah. Moving to my third game.
And by the way, out of our 5 games, we have three of our 5 games are the same games, but 2 of them we picked different opponents, and we'll get into that right now. So.
Yeah. So that first of that one is Colts at Texans. The line is 9, and in favor of Indianapolis, but I'm taking Houston. I don't even really know why I'm taking them, but I think, again, with Tyrod Taylor back at quarterback, they've looked better. And I know they lost to the Jets or whatever, but they're more competitive and they're more into games. And every single game he started, I think they've at least been like a 1-score game, or at least it's been close throughout. And maybe there's a late touchdown to push it to double digits, but it's always been a close game. They're at home, if that matters at all. Maybe it does. But the Colts are coming off a huge game against the Bucs. They lost, which I wish they kind of would have won that game, because then I would feel better about this game. At least I'm losing, or at least it being closer. But it still is a huge game at home against the Bucs. Again, arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. Maybe there's a little bit of a letdown when you play the Texans the next week. Then they play the Patriots the week after that, and it comes after a bye, but still, maybe you're looking forward to that bye too. So maybe this is somewhat of a trap game. Even if the Colts still win, maybe it's just a closer game than the line would indicate. So that's kind of what I'm banking on. Really, the Texans, as long as they don't make mistakes, I think they could stay in this game. So it's really just me hoping a bad team doesn't make mistakes, which usually doesn't work out in my favor. But that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I think with Taylor, that's a much more mistake-free team. Comparing a guy like Davis Mills, a rookie who's prone to make mistakes, versus a veteran who's not great. Let's just be honest, Taylor is a bad quarterback. NFL standards, NFL starting quarterback standards, he's not good, but he's out of those types of guys in his league, he's more on the mistake-free side.
Yeah.
So I could see it, and again, it's one of those in-division games where things just don't always play out how you would expect them to. If this was Colts Jets and the line was 9, maybe you're more confident in the Colts. Maybe you're not. I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna take the Colts. I don't know if I said this, but I'm also taking this game. I'm taking the Colts. I like them coming off a loss. I think it's a really disappointing loss. So you could argue that this is kind of maybe a little bit of a trap game, but the Colts are 6-6, and if you lose this game against the Texans, you're in a bad spot. You're just in a bad spot, and I think you're a better team than a lot of these other teams in the AFC. But if you lose this game, you're in the hunt, and you're no longer in that. You're in the hunt, and you're on the outside looking in by a decent amount. You have to almost win out to guarantee yourself a playoff spot at 6-7.
Yeah.
Which I think is you put yourself in dangerous territory there, especially if you're losing at the Texans. That's tough. I think they're going into this game. They're not looking past it. I know that they have a bye and then the Patriots. I don't think you're looking past it. I think you need to win this game. I think the Colts will be concentrated. I think Taylor has a big day. I think Carson Wentz does his job at being a solid game manager. Taylor, big day. They forced a couple mistakes out of the Texans, and maybe this is David Culley's last year and first and last in Houston. We'll see. Maybe not, because nobody wants that job anyways. But yeah, I'll take the Colts win by more than 9. So.
All right, that was the first of the games that we both chose, but obviously different teams. Here's the second one, Giants at Dolphins. The line is -4 in favor of Miami. That is what I am taking. Miami just came off the win against who'd they play? The Panthers. Blowout win. Tua looked good. Again, he's looked better the last couple weeks, to be fair. I'm not a Tua guy, but he has looked better. Maybe that's just the opponents that they've been playing, but he's looked better. This is a Giants team that came off an ugly win against the Eagles, and honestly, they probably should have lost that game. I mean, Jalen Reagor missed one touchdown on one of the last plays, and then the last play of the game, he would have been down at the 1 if not in the end zone. So again, they probably should have won that game, but still, the Giants won, but it was ugly. Daniel Jones has somewhat of a shoulder injury, which they said he's going to play, but he's still at least game time decision. So maybe that impacts them. Maybe he gets injured. Maybe something happens. This Dolphins defense, as you've been talking about lately, they've been playing amazing. And again, maybe that's the opponents, but they also held the Ravens to 10 points, so there's also that. And I don't know. I just think that the Dolphins, they're playing a lot better. The defense is hot against a team that's turnover, not so much this year, but again, Jones is going to turn the ball over, whether it's sack, fumble, interception. So I'm kind of banking on Miami's defense winning this game, and Tua just continuing to have decent performances. As long as he's accurate and doesn't make mistakes, I think they're going to win. That's the recipe: good defense and no mistakes on offense.
Yeah, so I'm picking this game as well. Now I'm going with the Giants, and the reason I'm going with the Giants is I think the Dolphins are due for a down week. When you're due for a down week, you're due for a down week. I think Tua's played better, but I think you can argue Tua's. I don't love Jones either, but Tua is maybe not necessarily that much better. Maybe he's more mistake-free than Jones, but I think the Dolphins are due for a down week. I think the Giants have maybe not looked awesome, but yeah, I'm gonna take the Giants. I like the Giants this week. It's a team I typically never really touch. I don't think I've touched the Giants this year, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for not touching the Giants.
Oh, and by the way, to kind of support I guess this is, supporting your Dolphins pick, but this is something I saw earlier. Comparing Tua's first 16 starts to Murray's first 16 starts, Tua has a better touchdown-interception ratio. He has a better completion percentage. He has a better passer rating, and he has a better record. The only thing he doesn't have more passing yards. Murray has him beat by about 100, or by about 200 yards. But Tua is 21-11 on touchdown interception ratio. Murray was 20-12. He's got 67 completion percentage. Murray's 64.5. 90 passer rating. Murray 87. So,
well, to be fair, I would expect Tua to win in some of those categories. There's just Murray's gonna throw it deep. Throw it deep more of the time, while Tua's not. Tua's going to be a lot more conservative with stuff in the flats, small routes, slants, just like nothing crazy. So I'm not surprised by completion percentage, even touchdown to interception ratio. Because again, when you throw it deep, there's a good chance it's going to get picked as well. But I'm not surprised by that. But again, we'll see. Obviously it's year 2 of Tua right now. It's year 3 of Kyler. What's Tua going to look like after next year? Assuming he's still the starter in Miami for all of next year, are his numbers going to jump up to what Kyler's are, or are they going to stay at what they are right now? Which, again, it's not great. So that's obviously the big thing. But, yeah, I guess maybe some people, find that, really interesting. But to be honest, I somewhat expected that. The passing yards is a little weird. Maybe only 200 more, though, in 16 games. That I would honestly expect that to be about 400 yards more, but that's probably the only thing.
Sure. And I guess to support my Giants argument a little bit, the Giants' only losses the past 2 months are Tampa, Kansas City, Rams, and Dallas, which are all, you could legitimately argue that those are like the top 5 teams in the league. Top 4 teams in the league. Tampa, Kansas City, Dallas, Rams.
Yeah.
Those are 4 of the top 10 teams for sure. And when they play not good teams, Panthers, Eagles, Raiders, they've won. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I didn't actually really realize that that's the teams that they've played. But yeah, for sure. But again, they haven't looked great in any of those games, to be fair.
They have not looked they do not look like the Dolphins are on a better hot streak than the Giants. And I'm not saying the Giants are on a hot. The Dolphins have looked better for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
But moving to the last game, those are all Sunday games. The last one for both of us is a Monday game. Monday night, Patriots at Bills. The line is +3, actually. Well, it's -3 in favor of the Bills. So, again, neutral field, that's a pick 'em. But I'm going with the Pats, and, again, you're going with the Pats as well. I only assumed that when we were doing this beforehand. But I like the Pats +3. I think I think it's going to be a tough game. I think the Bills, this is their game. If they lose this game, the division's over. They have to settle for a wild card. So this is the game they have to win. So I think it's going to be close. But the way the Patriots have been playing, the way the defense has been playing, with the turnovers, the way Mac's been playing, I don't know if weather is going to play a factor in this. Again, Buffalo Monday night, it may be snow, it may be something, so we'll see. Maybe they have to rely more on the running game with Damian Harris. But I like the Pats pick in this one. Again, they technically don't have to win this game to cover, but I do think they win this game. I think they win this game. The Bills would be done. Again, even that next game wouldn't mean anything unless the Patriots are going on a losing streak. But I think the Pats would win this game, and I think it's going to come down to probably a field goal, to be honest. I think it's going to be a field goal at the end to win the game. Obviously, to cover the 3 points, it doesn't matter for that. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a field goal that comes down.
I think that, okay, I'm taking the Patriots as well. You said it. I'm taking Patriots as 3-point underdogs on the road. I'm surprised the Patriots aren't favored in this game. I'm taking the Patriots to win. I'm taking them to win big. I'm taking them to win by at least a touchdown, but I don't think it's a close game the majority of the game. I think, we go into it nervous and everything because these are 2 really good teams, division rivals, everything. But I think the Patriots kind of control the game past the first quarter. I think once you get into the second quarter, maybe it's a little bit close. Patriots break it open with a touchdown, maybe get a turnover off a Josh Allen interception, maybe off a fumble or something. And I think from there on out, it's a lot of Josh Allen and the Bills feeling like they need to pass every single down, even if maybe they don't. But this team's already a pass-heavy team. They can't run the ball and don't run the ball. I think that plays into Belichick. Belichick's always had a good time against the Bills, obviously. And I know most of that's because the Bills have been bad. The Patriots have been great. But even last year, the Patriots, listen, the first game they should have won. The second game, well, they got embarrassed. But I think Belichick's had this game circled on his calendar for a while. I think he's motivated and ready to go into it with a fire. If you want to hear more about the Patriots and Bills, my takes on it, My Pats and Bills episode should be up by the time you're seeing this, so I will link it in the description. It's still on the Clips channel, but I think the Patriots come out. I think they win by a decent amount. I don't think Josh Allen looks very good in this game. I think he has probably an interception or two. I'll predict that Devin McCourty has a pick. I'll predict that J.C. Jackson gets another interception. Even though maybe I don't want him to, because J.C. Jackson's a guy that I actually don't want to get many more interceptions because I don't want him to listen, I don't want to have to pay him too much in the offseason, so he's a guy that we could trade.
Yeah, maybe already past that point.
He's probably already past that point. He has to play poorly to get his way out of a contract. He can't just not intercept the ball. But yeah, I take the Patriots to win by a good amount, and I've said this pretty much the whole year. I think that I'm taking the Patriots to win this game. Maybe not the whole year, but the past good amount of time, at least the past, I want to say, month. I've taken the Pats to win this game.
Yeah.
I'm taking them to win both. I think both of these games still matter. Even if the Bills do lose this game, I still think the next one matters because the Patriots play the Colts, and it's the NFL. You really don't know, and that one's still going to matter because if the Bills do lose this one, then they're in a competitive wild card race. And are they going to make it? Probably still, even if they were to lose both games. But I still think both of the games for sure matter. Maybe it matters more if the Patriots lose this one, but yeah, I'm taking the Patriots to win. I think this is a really good game for a Patriots fan and not a good one for a Bills fan. And I know this could be, I could jinx it here, but you know what? If it happens, it happens, and I'll come back next week and I'll say I've been wrong about the Patriots or whatever, and I was wrong about this game. So
yeah, so that's our 5 picks. One other thing, Christian McCaffrey's out for the season. That's just official. So another one of your picks for awards is out for the season.
Yeah. Chase Young out for the year. Christian McCaffrey out for the year. Russell Wilson, I mean, being out that long.
Basically out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even if he wasn't injured, I'm probably wrong about that pick. But even if he was playing well, being out that amount of time probably eliminates you from the MVP race anyways. Maybe not this year, but probably still this year. People like to see the overall, year statistics. You're not throwing for 5,000 yards when you're missing what? How many games did he miss? 4?
At least 3.
At least 3 games. Yeah. It's just you're not throwing for 5,000 yards in those conditions. So, yeah, my NFL picks, yearly award picks, almost as bad as you could get, I'm pretty sure. Belichick Coach of the Year I think is a good pick, but other than that, I mean, Russell Wilson MVP, bad. McCaffrey Offensive Player of the Year, bad pick. Chase Young Defensive Player of the Year, bad pick. Kyle Pitts Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, not an awful pick, but it's not a bad pick. It's just not. This is not a good pick because he's not going to win it. Surtain Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, it's not the worst pick ever.
Probably second.
But considering that he was probably the favorite going in, or at least he was the second, it's not. It just to be wrong when you're picking one of the favorites is bad. So I'm not giving myself any credit for that, especially because Parsons is just so much ahead of everyone else in that race that I should have picked it. Comeback Player of the Year, McCaffrey. He's gonna have to win it next year because he's not winning it this year. He's not coming back.
Another chance next year.
Bill Belichick, Coach of the Year, is my only good pick, and I guess Super Bowl 56, Pats Seahawks. I'm 50. I think right now you can argue that out of the 4 teams that we've picked to make the Super Bowl, I have the best team prediction and I have the worst one.
I would say so, yeah.
So I have the best one in the Patriots. You probably have the second best in the Rams and the third best in the Browns, and I have the worst in the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Whose picks would you rather have? I don't know. I think you probably still lean Rams and Browns.
Yeah, just because I still have the potential of it happening, while obviously the Seahawks is.
I mean, technically the Seahawks, if they went out, maybe go 9-8 or whatever, they have a chance, but probably not. So.
Yeah, but. That's probably it NFL wise.
My NBA awards though are looking a lot better than my NFL ones. So
NBA, mine aren't looking great, to be fair.
I mean, they're not looking bad. Both of our MIPs are probably not winning it this year. Shea is.
Well, yours for sure isn't winning it.
I mean, I think I can say for sure both of ours aren't winning it at this point. But
yeah, I mean,
Shea's just not been nearly as good. He's not taken that step. That's for sure. He's not taken any sort of step that would make him win MIP this year.
But my Rookie of the Year, Jalen, I think he's out now. I think he's out 2 weeks. But I don't think he was going to win it anyways, to be fair. But
so who's going to win it then?
It honestly could be Cade. I think if Mobley returns, keep voice cracking, but if Mobley returns, I think it'll probably be him. As long as he doesn't get injured again, it should be him. But Cade's been playing really good recently. So as long as he stays healthy, I think it could be him. Again, Scotty Barnes is in there, but I think that was more early season. I think it's kind of cooled off now. But I think it's between Mobley and Cade. Whoever stays healthy, I think is going to win it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Green maybe. Rookie of the Year is, even though we're 20 games in, and I can confidently say, at least in my opinion, I don't think Shea or obviously Porter. That's just too many games down in MIP to me. But in Rookie of the Year, I mean, those awards are, it's Rookie of the Year. There's not like a huge pool to select from as compared to like an MVP, where if you're not playing well through 20 games, you're probably not going to win MVP. It could be somebody that's not Cade, Mobley, Green. We'll see, but
it could possibly, but probably not.
Probably not. But I think both of our Coach of the Year picks are not looking great.
No,
definitely not looking great. So,
no, for sure not. But even just going back to Jalen Green, I mean, even if he was healthy and playing really well, like they'd only win. They're on pace to win. They've won like 2 in a row, but they're on pace to win like 10 games. So
well, they're on pace to win 20, I think. But
now they are.
I think they're what 5-13 right now.
Are they 5-13? I mean, they were 1-13, and I think they've won 2 in a row, or like they were like 1-14.
I mean, I could be wrong.
They're right now they're 5-16. All right, so I guess they're on pace for a better record, but even still. They're
about on pace for 18 wins.
They've won 4 in a row. I don't think they're ever going to win more than 2 in a row the rest of the season. So
probably not, but we'll see. I mean, I guess you never know. I don't know.
I mean, if they were like 20 wins, I think you'd have a chance if you were healthy. But if your team wins, I know it's Rookie of the Year, doesn't like matter, but like for your team to only win like 15 games or 13 games in a season, like it's pretty tough to give you Rookie of the Year, unless you were averaging like 30 points per game. But.
Yeah, I would probably Oh, did you see that play, by the way, where they let Kevin Porter grab the rebound for his triple-double?
Yeah, I did see that.
So I just listen. It was kind of heartwarming or whatever, but can we stop with the triple-doubles? Like nobody cares. All right, like.
Well, I think it was his first one. So.
I just don't.
I think if it was his second one, maybe they wouldn't have done that.
Just stop. Like I had enough of it in 2016. I know you probably didn't have enough of it in 2016, but I'm done with it. All right.
Well, at least that equated to winning, to be fair.
Debatable.
If you look at the triple doubles that he does have, and you look at the wins or losses, I think it's like 70% wins. So
I think
clearly
it
translates to wins.
Part of the triple double, sure. I'm not going to say that the rebound statistic of that necessarily has a huge role in it, but I mean Russell Westbrook's triple doubles typically, I mean they correlate to winning, but I think that's much more on the shooting aspect and the assist aspect than it is rebounding aspect. So I don't think it has anything to do with the triple double itself. I just think it has to do with, typically speaking, even though he is stat padding when he gets triple doubles, he is playing well. So, but whatever. I'm just done with the triple doubles. Stop it. I don't care. It's not a fun stat. I don't care. I would rather see somebody shoot 8 for 11 from 3 than get a triple double. So, I'm done.
All right. So Drew's out on triple doubles.
I've been out, and I'm just saying that if I'm watching a Celtics game and I see 2 players literally let a ball bounce on the floor 4 times and to get, I don't care who it is, their first triple double, I'm just turning off the TV and I'm just walking away because it's just dumb. Listen, I get it, but I don't. It's just stupid. Anyways, that's it for the episode. So appreciate everybody stayed to the end. Feel free to check out again. I will have the link to my Patriots Bills episode in the description below. Clips channel, all that. Check that stuff out. We will be back probably Sunday night. Hopefully another 4-1 week for Drew and Brandon. We'll see. But close. It's a close race. It's gonna be interesting because whoever does lose this is gonna have to do. They're going to have to do some
Yeah,
digging up on takes. They're going to have to go back and probably listen to some episodes to fill out their presentation.
Yeah, and that sounds like a lot of work. So
we won't, we shouldn't have to spend more than 30 minutes on it or whatever. Nothing crazy, but
yeah.
I think it will be a decent amount of work having to go find some takes. I think if you made me bet who has the worst takes, like not on average, but like who has like the bottom of the barrel takes. Listen, I'm just gonna say it's probably me. I can think of at least one or two.
I know one in my head right now.
The Sam Darnold one.
Yeah, that's the
a
one.
bad take. That's probably a bad take.
That's
but
the one.
if Lamar goes the rest of his career without winning a Super Bowl, then that take, while being bad, yes, the reasoning behind that take will still have been valid. So yeah, we'll be back Sunday night. Goodbye.